the culture says that there is this sassy man apocalypse happening. There is a overabundance of men doing self care. We just had a conversation before we started recording, and Eury obviously hates every single content creator there is because he thinks that y'all all are the same. I'm calling you out right now, bro. I want to defend y'all.
You over here making you like take that cape off real quick because I ain't say all that. But look,
Okay, he said it. We
But
moving.
but what better topic to talk about than what is a man
Right.
and masculinity, because those actual views lead into our everyday behavior, everyday movements, everyday why we do what we
Yeah.
do as men. You understand? So
yeah.
so as you were saying, that sassy man era, right? So kind of like dive into why you think that. First of all, what you think masculinity is, Brenten, and then we'll get to Yuri. But I, what is masculinity to you while people are looking at masculinity in this light early on, especially in the year it is today?
um, what people think masculinity is. That's really wild to me that people really are having that conversation about, like Yuri said, how other people are living their lives. Um, Masculinity to me is what I define it as in my journey. I think that is subjective to each man, right? Because masculinity to me is actually being a gentleman and being able to take my power as a man and use it in a positive way, right? Masculinity to me is like servitude, putting myself in a position to be able to help others, right? That's masculinity is also knowing when to choose yourself so that way you can serve other people.
Yo.
Mm-hmm.
Masculinity is also knowing when to be soft and create space for people to heal and just be their full selves, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
that's what masculinity is to me.
What about you, Yuri?
Yeah, and like you said, it's all subjective. Through our experiences and everything, we gain like an understanding of what it is. For me, it's just a knowing of who you are, a sureness of self, kind of just like Monday through Sunday, you know what I'm saying? Like every day you're sure of who you are. Even if you can't show up as that person, you've set a standard for yourself as a man. So even if like you get knocked off that square, you know that you got knocked off that square because you're not at that standard, right? Like you usually are. And I would say the last one is someone in their purpose. I feel like you really become a man when you understand your purpose in this world. Not everybody's purpose is to help billions of people. Some people are just meant to be pillars in their community. Some people are just meant to raise a good family, right? But understanding your purpose and living in that purpose, I feel creates a man because you are now acknowledging that what you do and what you're here for is bigger than you, right? That your leadership, your qualities, your value affect more than just you, you know? So I definitely think that just someone in their purpose and someone who knows like what their purpose is and what they're here to do, it signifies, I guess, like the becoming, right, of that man, right? Because you could pay bills and all that, but like I didn't feel like I was like a man until like 25, 26, where I'm like, yo, I'm here to do something. You know, I got to hold myself to this standard. I got to shed everything that doesn't align with me and make sure that I'm showing up as my best self or as the best version of myself that day. You know what I'm saying? And then just going from there. So yeah, that's what I would say. I'd like to get your perspective though, Mars.
Yeah. I wanted y'all to go first because I wanted to also ask, like, where do you think you learned that? So I'm gonna answer both of those. So for me, I think being what a man is, I don't think anybody necessarily has a clear view
Mm-hmm.
or actually defined answer or a actual right or wrong answer. You know what I mean? But what I do think is that we get so many depictions of what a man is from our influences. You know, whether if we had a dad figure or multiple dad figures. So I think that that's how it accumulatively comes together, especially men in our, you know, I'm almost 30. I think I'm, you know, but we're young men, right? Still. And so we're learning these things, and we're also, while we're learning these things, we're living them and then
Mm-hmm.
kind of spitting it back out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but it doesn't really define, there's no real definition, which I think most people kind of go to, you know? But when you talk about masculinity, I think they can be quite separate because masculinity is a certain kind of energy for me, right? And I think because I've been in a divorced family and I've had stepfathers as well, which I have now, and I just got to see so many different kinds of masculinity and energy, right, and different kind of forms of men, right, and so that's where I think I learned my view of masculinity in men and how it can be on different spectrums, right, because they weren't all the same man I was around. They were all quite, I think, different. So, and I think I learned a lot from that, being able to pinpoint and look around for some stuff. So, why do you think you learned the way you think of masculinity or being a man?
A
Or
lot
where, shall I ask?
a lot of my perspective now is based off of my faith, right? Like that in addition to what I see. You know, I always tell myself that I'm a data collector, right? I'm forever a student. I'm always looking, I'm always collecting data and putting it back into my bank, and then I'm going back and I'm comparing the data, right? And so I could see a man and I could say, ooh, I like that, I like that, ooh, I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna throw that out
Yeah,
the
I'm not
window,
gonna pick that up.
you know. And so you know, a lot of data collecting, and so making sure that I'm paying attention to men that are influential and that have
Yeah.
huge hearts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're men that I want to that I would potentially want to look like, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
collecting data from them, but also like you know I'm comparing it to what resonates with me as a man,
Yeah.
and so my view of masculinity is has really it starts over at every single like season that I'm in, if that makes sense. Um, and so what I view as like what masculinity was and where that came from, like that really came from my family at first, which is very false. But now that I'm older and you know you're accountable to how you act in your view. You know, you have
Mm-hmm.
to take ownership of over that.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I realized that was the case, you know, I'm like, okay, bro, go collect some more data,
Yeah.
because this don't feel right.
I
Yeah.
love how you said that before we get to you're my bad, but you said how you're collecting data, right? And I think all young men do that, right? They're picking and choosing what they want to take. I mean, everybody does that from any situation, right? But not only that, is you said that my view is different now, and so I love that. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're still growing, and one thing that I hope you guys. Who's listening and viewing in with us kind of take from this is learning every time we listen in and see each other's experiences, right? Not just going with what we learn from the nest. You feel me?
Yeah. To Brent's point, forever a student. I just learned very on that like just because I respect you as a man doesn't mean I have to do everything you do. Right? I can just take what I love about you and how you are and implement that into myself, you know, and then just kind of let the other stuff go. Right? And that's kind of been my evolution as a man. It started at the nest. My first experience was my father. You know what I'm saying? I got to see him like that as a son, and now I'm realizing it with my own son. Is like they're learning how to be a person through you first, right? So it was my father. Then as you get older, it starts to become your environment. So in my environment, there was a lot of lack, right? It wasn't a lot of abundance and money there. It was just people helping one another to essentially survive. And I would say that at that point, when it becomes your environment, you look towards the people that look like they have abundance, right? Whether no matter what whether what they're doing is legal or illegal, it just looks good because it doesn't look like what everybody else looks like, right? And then as you get older from that, you start to kind of form your own opinion as to like what kind of man you want to be. You start to form your own idea, right? And you go back and lean on, okay, lessons from my father. What did I like, didn't like? Other men I respected in the family, and then you start to, I call it like, you start to like network online. This is what I called it. But I would literally watch YouTube videos of people I wanted to think like, do business like, just maneuver like, and I would just watch them in interviews, watch their documentaries, watch their projects. Like Nipsey was heavy, Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger, Jay-Z, like anybody I found interesting, anybody that I knew something that I wanted to know or were at a level I wanted to reach in terms of how they put their people on, how they put their family on, whatever the case is, I'm tuning in and I'm listening. And like I said, I'm just keeping what's for me, letting go of the rest, and it's forever changing. The man you are today might serve you today, might not serve you next month or next year. So it's an ever, like, you have to continue learning and growing and being cognizant enough or like aware that just because it worked for you for a certain time doesn't mean it's going to work for you always. So you have to be open to that, like to adapting right into a new version of you.
I'm experiencing that right now, actually, where like the man before he has died, he is no longer here.
I feel like
that
if
man
you're
has left the
constantly evolving and holding yourself accountable, that should happen.
That man has left the building.
What made you realize that?
It did nothing work. It don't work no more. It's not. It don't feel what it used to feel like.
So listen to this as a realization. You know me, I just be thinking. But what I'm feeling and hearing from the stuff that we're saying is that as a man evolving any time or whatever energy you want to be towards, it's like you're the man you find inspiration from or take things from is the man that has things that you like or think that you lack. So like if you like want to be a man of confidence or something like that, you feel me? I feel like you're like, oh, I'm gonna listen, or if I'm want to make money, I'm gonna listen to Warren Buffett. You feel me? Like, and you take things from those certain people, and that's kind of feels like that's how we grew up, right?
Yeah, and you
so
just
if you're
find
lacking confidence or lacking strength or lacking money, like you go to look, you take things from those men around you.
Yeah, and you just and like we were talking about before, we're in an information surplus. We're abundant with information out there, and you can almost align yourself or your habits or your thinking with those that, like you said, have the things or live a way or think a way that you would like to as a man, right? And there's no shame in that because you want to personally grow, right? So in order to do that, you have to be open to different perspectives and implementing new things in your life that are going to serve you at that point in your life and your growth. So yeah, always open, and that can always change. Maybe like I haven't more so been listening, to those guys. I've switched and listened to other people, right? Like
Because
as
you're around that, you're starting to get it.
yeah, and it just continues to, I just continue to evolve as I continue to grow. But it's like we said, it's everlasting. This shit as to like being a man, it never stops, because ultimately as a human, like we're here to evolve and adapt and to continue to grow, because the world is, and we gotta basically keep up with it, So not to stray too far, but I feel like it's just very important for us to continue to do the work. It doesn't stop. It doesn't, and if we want to continue to strive for that man, that image, right? Because when I close my eyes, I know the type of man that I want to become, right? And that I'm working towards being. And in knowing that, it allows me to align with everything I need to get there. and say no to everything that doesn't.
Hmm.
So
I also want to bring in the point of like, because before we started this conversation, we had the conversation about content creators, right?
Mm-hmm.
And to your point, you know, there's a lot of things on the internet that's just false, very, very false
Yeah.
about like what a man looks like and what
Yeah.
masculinity looks like.
Wrapped up in skits.
Wrapped up in skits, like, and so you're you're very, very right. And so to the person that's out there, you know, looking at the internet and you might not resonate with the person, like, look deeper, find somebody else to resonate with.
That's what I was
Like,
about to say.
look in
You
yourself.
you picked the wrong man to take
Yeah,
stuff
like,
from, and
look-
some people don't get to that point where they're
Yeah,
like, oh wait,
like-
it's not working, like you said.
Yeah, and everyone's what I'm also learning as I'm going on this journey is that, you know, your journey is one of one. And so to look for that in somebody else is insane. Like, to look for that into somebody else is absolutely nuts. And so take your journey to the man that's on the journey to figure out what a man is. Like, yes, look to the left, look to the right, collect data, but also look inside.
yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like,
you know?
don't rely too heavily on
Yeah.
outside sources. Collect the information, collect the data, collect what you need to know, but you have to internalize what really works for you, right? You have to
Make
look
it your
within.
own.
Don't just rely on outside sources for the answers, because most of the time we do that when the answer is within. We just have to give ourselves time, patience, and space for that answer to come to fruition, to come into our lives and show itself.
Yeah.
Right. And as to like who we're developing into and who we're growing into as a man. So yeah, definitely a good point. Don't just rely on outside sources. There are plenty of people you can look to for the tools you need on your journey, but that shouldn't be your only sources.
Yeah, well, let me say this too. You don't always have to look on the internet. There could be people right there in your community.
Yeah,
you
that
just gotta
too,
put
yeah.
like, I see you, bro, and how that started. Right, we started with roundtable discussions.
Yeah.
Right, and it led us to this opportunity. And that's the thing. Like, you gotta understand. Like, put yourself out there, and that's one of the best parts about evolving in what you want to be, in your masculine energy, and in what you believe the man you want to be is, right? And as long as you keep getting and looking yourself in the mirror and saying, who do you want to be, right? Every step you take that day, if you keep saying that to yourself, who do you want to be, you'll get to that person that much faster, right? And so, like, the guys in the room, you guys have been able to influence me and help me evolve as a man within a very short period of time. You understand what I'm saying? So when you realize that the other people in masculine energy and masculine or man definitions in your head that you learned as a kid isn't working anymore, that's that time to evolve. And so that's kind of like,
Yeah.
but I was using too many outside sources, of course.
And but another good point is finding a community, and I'm glad we've been able to create something that allows, you know, men to come out, express themselves, learn something, reflect a bit, because it's needed, right? So yeah, if you're trying to grow, just look within, you know, surround yourself with a good community, and then just find people that you feel you could learn from and grow from. You know, it's not, and just choose what works for you. I would say choose what works for you. Not everything looks the same. Not everybody's journey is the same, you know. So at the end of the day, you know what is best. Just make sure that you follow that path, right? Don't let yourself stray from your path because you want to follow someone else's. I See You, Bro is brought to you by City Center at Oyster Point. Discover the peninsula's best kept secret at City Center at Oyster Point in Newport News. Experience their growing culinary scene with new restaurants such as Satay and Amaro Italian Bistro, or grab small bites at Tinto Wine and Cheese.
City Center regularly hosts events like free fitness classes, open mic night at Cure Coffee, and Latin dance night at Sauce's Mexican Grill. You can even treat yourself to some self-care at the Eyelash and Eyebrow Bar, or catch a movie at Cinemark. There's also the Contemporary Arts Network Gallery, a haven for art enthusiasts.
City Center isn't just a hotspot. It is the up-and-coming foodie paradise and Peninsula's best-kept secret. Whether you're going out for date night or family-friendly fun, City Center is the gym you've been looking for. Stop by and discover why City Center at Oyster Point in Newport News is your perfect destination for any occasion. For more information, check out their website, citycenter@oysterpoint.com, or give them a follow at citycenter at Oyster Point.
I did want to ask though a quick question. As a man, this may be a little off topic, but it's something that I felt compelled to ask. Is how often do you think about death, and do you let that dictate, or I don't want to say control how you move, but is that like a thought in your mind as you're making, like as you're maneuvering through this world, through these days, weeks, months, like? And I can answer first. Like, I never really thought about death too often until I had a son, right? Because it made me realize how precious time is, how fast life is, how short life can be. So I have a very deep appreciation since he's been born, like a very, very deep appreciation for time, being in the present moment, because in the back of my mind, it's like you want to make sure that you made as many moments count as possible while you're here, right? And it's not like I'm thinking of different scenarios of me passing away or nothing like that. It's just me knowing that every present moment, every waking moment is just a gift, and to maximize it. And that's helped me move with so much more intentionality in everything I do. So it's almost been a positive. There are cases into where you think of things too much. It can be almost, it can bring down your mood or your energy. So I never really feed into it, but it's something in my mind to where I'm just very appreciative and grateful for every day, every moment, hour, second. And because I started thinking about that, it's allowed me to live like every day to the fullest in some capacity. Like, I want to laugh. I want to, like, there were days before my son where sometimes I wouldn't even speak. I'd be at the house, I wouldn't speak all day. I wouldn't call anybody, nothing, right? But now I want to interact. I want to, let people know I'm there for them. Like, have great conversation, like have a fun moment in the day. So for y'all, is that a thought that's
No.
kind of come to your mind? And well, Mars.
I'll tell you this. I know exactly what you mean, and I know exactly.
And I think it's when you have kids.
And
Okay,
well, no,
okay.
when you have kids, you start thinking about not death anymore, or you start. Okay, so look, when I was younger, I didn't think that I would. I'm like, I'm about to be 30. I'm 29, right? 2 months away, and so I was like, man, I might not make it to 30. Not that I'm doing all these crazy things. Not that I might not make it, because that life is hard. I just don't. I didn't really care too much about my life, right? I think a lot of youth in different ways, because I wasn't running the streets and gangbanging and all that stuff. But the thing about it is, I just didn't care for my life as much, right? And so I was just like, all right, well, I don't want to mind if I'm just gone at 30. Why? Because life sucks. Like, it's not that it's hard. It's just this life sucks, right? But when I had my first daughter, it kind of is like, yo, I can't just leave this thing. You feel me? It's like I'm an asshole. Like, that's not fair for me to bring something in this world and not try to help her out. You know what I mean? As long as I can, right? And so I pushed it up to 55 now. So, but it's just not that it's just like I don't. But I understand what you mean, right? Like, it's not that I don't really care too much. I don't really care too much for this life. It's
55?
cool, and I'm gonna do what I can do while I'm here, right? I'm gonna enjoy it while I'm here. I'm gonna laugh. I'm gonna, you know what I mean? And so we're really on, like, when I saw this, we on a floating rock paying bills. Like, that's some bullshit. So why not just enjoy it? Like, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And it's not something that, like,
I wouldn't mind leaving early. Why? Who the fuck want to be here for 100 years, by the way?
I'll do
Okay, cool. Tell my story.
it. Like, I always envision myself like living a pretty long life, but like I said, it's not something that like dawns on me every day to, oh my God, I got 7,000 days left until, like, no, bro. It's just like, since having a kid, man, I just appreciate the time more. I'm not so caught up thinking about the past or the future. I'm more so just trying to live in the now. So that's more so what I was trying to get to see. It seems like a common thing with when you have kids, because I was like you, like you before I had a child. I didn't really care. Like
No, I care, but it's not a thought that like plagues me, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Like it's not a thought that plagues me. Now, am I thinking about what kind of legacy I want to leave? Like, and I do think I have thoughts like, if you were to go tomorrow, would you be
I was
happy
about to say, I'll be
with the
straight.
impact? Like I would be happy, right? Like I would be okay with what I've done thus far, right? And I want to be able to continue to ask myself that as a man along the journey. If you
Yeah.
were to leave tomorrow, would you have felt like you've done all that you could do? And
Yeah.
and just recently, so my great grandmother, she passed 3 days ago, maybe. She was
Sorry to hear
93.
that.
Thank you. She was 93, and so she had told one of her friends that stopped by her house. She was like, before the New Year, she was like, I'm gonna let the family have Christmas. I'm gonna let them have the New Year, but after this, I'm gone, right? And so like before she went in the hospital, she cleaned her house, right? And she told somebody in our family like, I'm ready to go. I'm tired, right? And to me, that was such a huge thing because it was like, imagine living a life so well that
Fulfilled.
you get to decide that like, hey, like I'm tired, I'm ready to go, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna hang it up.
I'm just gonna hang it up, right? And like, and being so like in tune with your humanity that you kind of get to decide like when you get to go be live in eternity. And so that's the kind of life I want to live as a man, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like,
And you gotta do that every day too, because that
right.
holds you accountable. Because it's like, if I were to die today, not what I've done, but what I just did today, like
Yeah.
5 seconds ago. You feel
Right.
me? Like, what did I like? What? Because your legacy is only what you keep doing,
Right. Right.
not what you did in the past. Everybody knows that. Nobody
Mhm.
give a crap. You know, you could have
Yeah.
saved
Mhm.
5 babies, and you do one
Yeah.
bad thing.
Yeah.
So it just keeps, like you, that the knowing that time is like our time here is finite, allows me to really be conscious of the type of legacy I want to leave, the type of work I want to do while I'm here. So like it doesn't plague me, but it's something that I noticed I was more conscious of after becoming a father, as opposed to when I wasn't. When I wasn't, I was starting to figure out my purpose, but I wasn't really like diving into it because I'm still finding myself. I'm still healing myself, because that's another part of it too, is like, to be a man in your purpose, you got to do the work, right? To step into every room as your best self, right? Even if you're not feeling your best self, you've done the work to be the best possible Eury, Mars, Brenten that you could be that day, right? So, I would say, yeah, it's something that it's subjective. I would definitely love to hear the comments below if as a man that's something that kind of changed. If you had kids too, like if you had kids, is that something that you think about, or did your thinking change from pre-fatherhood to fatherhood in terms of just your legacy, etc.?
Yeah, because some people are probably listening right now, like as we have been doing in the past months, and being like, "Yo, it's not. I guess what I do wasn't working. Why did I choose this man that has influenced my past 30 years, 25 years, whatever? You know?
Well, let me ask y'all this: what kind of man do you hope to be ultimately? Like, when you think about yourself, in 20 years, like what do you see for yourself?
Still doing the work
That means I got
on
5 more years left.
on a
Mars,
Nah.
you are not leaving this world at
I
55.
say at that age, my son I'll be 50. My son will be 23. So, all right. So in context, so I will be still doing the work on a much higher level. At that point, I'll be working toward heavily on like the things that I'm doing outliving me. putting things, systems, people in place to carry what I've been doing way beyond my lifetime, right? And I think that'll be the focus then. Someone that is a pillar in every community he stepped in, lived in. Someone that took as much time, effort, and energy to kind of develop and grow just a great family, right? An abundant family.
Yeah.
Someone that helped others along the way to surpass him and what he's done, putting the next people on, because what we're doing here is influencing the next. We're 30 or about to be 30, or a little bit older than 30, Brenten. But we
You better hope to get here.
but it's we're at a point where it, like we spoke about, it's a 20-year-old, couple 20-year-old kids that came to our, and I don't mean to call them kids, it's 20-year-old men that came to our events. And that was so powerful to me, because it's like, where will they be at 30? Who are they? You know what I'm saying? And it's just influencing the next to come behind us and then go even further than us. So a lot
it
of
took for us for forever to
Yeah.
get to the point of realization.
So just being someone that continues to help others and pay it forward. Yeah, man. I just hope to be the best version of myself. Like I just want to be I want to know that I did the work to be over the next 20 years to be the best Eury Almonte that I could be in 20 years.
Wait, is Almonte your middle name or that's your last name?
Yes, sir. No middle name.
He got two names.
Yuri, no middle name. Almonte. Okay.
Yeah, I think for me, I want like I just said earlier, looking in that mirror every day, right? And so that may change in, I guess 20 years is what you asked, but what I want to be doing is I guess a man that is holding himself accountable still, right? Not giving up. I would hope for my family that I would have put them in a position to, because I like to, like I said, the main thing about me and my business Neurospace is that it's not about saying you need mental health, right? It's about planting seeds and then watching you grow and while you make your journey yours, however that is, right? In each step and in each idea and in each creative thought that you bring to life, right? So I just hope that I'm continuously growing and evolving in what is not society, but what is my journey, right? And my purpose, kind of like how you said, right? Because today it could be mental health and tomorrow it could be just waking up.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully how about this? I don't want, as we speak about society and how good they're getting with brainwashing and manipulating people to think that what they're doing is their idea, per se. I don't want to get lost in that.
Yeah. For me, who I want to be, I've kind of already accepted the fact that I'm gonna be like successful and great, right? Like that's just
that's a given.
That's a given, right? Like cool, that's easy at this point. But I've known this as a kid, right? I was like, everybody can be doctors, lawyers, like all of these things, but the one thing that I see everybody is not and doesn't have is happiness and joy. I saw that as a kid. I immediately knew, like, okay, you that's easy, but people don't have this gem about them. You could tell they're missing something. And for me, that's the kind of black man that I want to be. I want you to be able to come in contact with me even on my worst day and you be like, that nigga is a gem. Like his heart, I want people to be able to feel my heart more than they hear me. I want people to be able to feel my spirit and my soul more than they feel my work or my art or my expression of that, And even if they don't get a chance to meet me, I want my work, if we're talking about work and what we touch and what we put our hands to, I want it to illuminate that spirit of essence and joy, And it doesn't, I'm not expecting it to look a certain type of way. I am expecting it to feel a certain type of way, though.
That's what's more important.
Yeah,
Like you said, it's about that feeling that
yeah.
people should be having versus what we are having.
Like, and to be quite honest with you, I'm learning what that is, because I've always felt so much pressure to actually be something, right? Or to like arrive to this thing. And so I guess my next question to you guys is like, do you feel like there are any obligations associated with being a black man? I know, and I guess to just go in a little bit deeper into that question is like, again, I feel like I have to go into certain spaces and automatically be better to be heard, or perform in a specific way in order to be recognized, right? Which is easy, right? But let me ask you guys, even, your experience of being a black man spans even further because you're fathers and do so many other different things than I do. Like, do you feel any pressures or obligations associated
Wow.
with not like two parts? Do you feel any pressures or obligations associated with being a black man and what culture says you should be and what you think you should be?
I'll say this. There's always obligation when it comes to masculine energy, right? Especially because that's supposedly the dominant energy. And then when you talk about being a man, because that's a label, that comes with what everybody else already has of it. Already, you're talking about somebody else's thoughts on something that's automatically obligation, right? The feeling of obligation, in a sense. So, but yes, being a black man in general goes back to that death thing, right? That's kind of why as a kid, I was like, well, a man's supposed to jump in front of a bullet. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like, just because people think stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm like, depending on who it is.
well, yes, yes.
Who they
but,
shooting?
I mean, you're supposed to be the protector, right? You're
Nah,
supposed
nah.
to, these are the kind of words that you kind of think you're supposed to do just in general as far as like what your idea and those things you were picking, right? If you wanted confidence, you're like, oh, Chuck Norris, like some people, like certain people, right? You got all Arnold Schwarzenegger. Even if you was black, you knew those people, right? So sometimes we didn't have the right, influences. And when we're talking about outsources, always there's gonna be obligation when you're a black man in today's society because you're supposed to be the headhunter. And one thing I get as a mental health advocate is, oh my God, there's not any black men out there. There's not any men in general out there doing what you do. There's not many, right? And so that's obligation in itself that I got to be the savior, right? And so I hate hearing it. I love hearing it because it's a compliment and I'm doing the right thing, but I hate hearing it because I wish there was more, right? And so that's kind of straight obligation right there for me to actually always be doing the right thing because one thing I do want men to know is that there's always eyes on us, right? We're always going to be some kind of influence and or just, somebody, like you said, if you see that dude and somebody's handling their business, which most of us are, we're going to automatically be somebody else's outside source.
Yeah.
And so there's always eyes on us. That's always straight obligation. So yeah, to the fullest, I feel pressure and obligation.
I would say from society, no. Like, I don't feel I just feel like society will have their own expectations depending on the person or the narrator of that expectation, right? So it could look different, from person to person that's saying it, in our society, right? Or I feel like I put more pressure on myself than anything, right? It's not society standard I'm living up to. It's the type of father, the type of man that I want to be, right? And the type of partner, like that for myself. And I hold myself to that standard according to what I feel is the best thing for not only myself, but those around me as a man. So there can be, well, no, not there can be. There is a ton of pressure out there. Like, you have to do this. You have to earn this. You have to be like, it's no, you just have to take care of yourself. If you have loved ones that, you know what I'm saying, take care of them. Like, if you have a family, like, take care of that. but you do not need to subscribe to society's pressures, um, especially as a black man, because I don't know why are we the ones that have to be a certain way? Why do we have to be the ones that go above and beyond at every fucking thing? Like, why can't we, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they painted this image from when I was little, and it was like, not to even get too controversial or anything, but like that black fathers were absent.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing some marketing schemes that they would have. It'd be a white family, father, mother, child. Black family, mother, child. On like Pampers, on like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they created this narrative, but if you go and look at the studies, I'm not going to give you the exact numbers. Y'all could look it up on yourself, Google 2024. But you can Google up the highest percentage of active fathers amongst race, and black is up there. If it ain't top two, no, if it ain't number one, it's top two. You know what I'm saying? But it's up there. I promise you. You know? So I feel like society has had a negative light on us anyway. So why would we ever subscribe to the type of pressure they put on us when it's unrealistic? They not even spitting facts. You know what I'm saying? So we just need to realize who we want to become,
Mm-hmm.
how we want to take care of the people we want to take care of,
Yeah.
and what that looks like without any outside sources influencing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Because like there is good information out there. There is good resources. Not enough to influence how you should drive yourself as a man, or how you should care for your people, your community, your family, etc. I See You, Bro is brought to you by the Can Foundation. The Can Foundation is an arts nonprofit organization founded by artists for artists.
The CAN is dedicated to building sustainable careers for the creative class through artist development, arts education, and public art projects.
By creating a community, they empower artists, foster creativity, and contribute to the sustainable growth of the artistic ecosystem at large. To learn more about the CAN Foundation, visit their Instagram, Contemporary Arts Network, or their website at thecontemporaryartsnetwork.com. Mars mentioned, he said, there are some duties associated with being a man in general, right? There are some obligations associated with being a man. We're okay with that. But oftentimes, for me, the struggle has been, finding the balance between those obligations and like who I actually want to become as a man, right? Like, what are your dreams? What do you care about? And so there's always been this resistance between like, okay, what's most important? And so for me, where I am now, it's like, hey, Brenten, in order to serve those obligations better, there is a point that you have to actually put your dreams and who you are first, right? And you learn as a man that servitude, like I often think that those of us that are called to serve and be leaders, we got the game jacked up, right? Because they want to say like love others as you would love yourself, like, but some of y'all ain't really loving yourself well, so I'm good on you loving me. But I say that to say like, has that been difficult in your journey, right? Especially as fathers, like, has it been difficult for you to say like, no, I gotta put myself here, first in order to serve my other obligations and my duties and my dreams best? What has that journey looked like for y'all?
I mean, I'm getting there now, man. I'm tired.
Yeah. What does that mean?
What it means is that with the obligations that I thought, growing up as a young father, I had to do, which it doesn't always have to be on my shoulders. I can help. I can ask for help. I can
That's good.
communicate better. I can, try all these different things. Like when you said it, it's just the other coats you had on when it's cold as hell now aren't working. You know what I mean? So like I need to get a new coat. It's not keep putting the same layer coat on because it's not really working. So, It's definitely tough though. But what I mean by I'm tired of like doing the same thing and expecting a different result. And that's not how it's gonna work. And so it's not just about being a father though, it's about just being a person, a human being, right? And so as with being a father, you're just trying to make sure that you not just you are good, most of everybody else, and it's kind of hard to think about yourself,
Yeah.
right? And I'm just a natural giver, so I can keep giving and keep giving. But like I said, when I realize that I'm pouring and I ain't been refilling, you taught me that, Brenten. I appreciate that. But you gotta fill your cup up so that you can pour it into other cups that need it.
Yeah. Same with me. I mean, as a father, just somebody like I have an obligation to show up to work, do my best. I've made commitments and obligations outside of that. Here, you know, this is a commitment for all of us to help the collective, right? I have an obligation to help raise my son to become a man one day. And to your point, Mars, it gets fucking tiring. I'm tired myself, right? You know, and it comes to a point where I was just saying yesterday, like I am going to pour more into myself because I've run into certain situations where your cup is empty and you're still trying to give out. And now
It's like dry heaving.
yeah, and it's just bad on all fronts because you're not giving out your best. The person that is needing, or you know what I'm saying, that you're pouring into, you're not pouring into the way that you should. They probably might not benefit from it. You know, like it's an avalanche, right? I would say it can cause that. But I would say that in that in these obligations and commitments as a man to provide, to protect, to show up and do the work myself, I just do things that help keep my cup full. If that's taking a break, right? If that's saying no to 1,000 things before I say yes to something, you know, like just doing things that allow me to pour into others the way that I want to, right? Because like I said, it's been several situations where you continue to try and then you're literally left feeling bare, feeling empty.
Zero.
Right? Like your tank is on zero. And that's not a place you want to be as a man because in certain cases, like I not even that I became resentful towards giving and pouring into others, but it was just like, God damn, when is it my turn? You know what I'm saying? And so, and I'm asking these questions whole time. It's like, it's your turn whenever you say so, because all you need to do is start pouring into you.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so just doing the things that keep me fulfilled, that continue to keep me going, that continue to keep me giving back, and just continuing to elevate that, the level in which I'm able to give back and pour into others, pour into my son, you know what I'm saying? Like just pour into my family as a whole, like that I think is key, instead of just continuously feeling, because that might be a pressure too, that we didn't talk on, like that pressure to just give and not do nothing for yourself, because we haven't heard of spaces like this. We didn't grow up familiar with spaces like this, or men caring for themselves. Like it was work, go home, like you know what I'm saying? Like, it's so it's
As you as you're talking about that, kind of give your closing statement on it, because I was gonna say some of the similar things, but how you have taken all of that information that you said, well, we didn't grow up that way, and how's your closing statement on what masculinity means to you with what you're learning now, who you've been, what you want to be, and then what you learned, how you basically we've been evolving. So kind of say how you think all of that wrapped up into who you are and who you want to be.
I mean, it's just through my experiences. I would say I never settled to be any one type of person or man. I've always wanted to learn more, to grow more, to seek more for myself. In my growth, in my environment, I would say that it gets kind of skewed as you're growing up. but I'm grateful for the isolation that came when I left out the house and having to go through very, very painful stages of growth by myself. Like, I remember vividly some things that, like, I bought a house right before I turned 25. 2 months later, man, I'm in the fetal position just crying. Don't know why. Like, just depressed. Big ass, like, in an empty house, 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, just me, and I'm just crying. Like, because at that point, I thought what I had would fill the gap of what was really missing inside, the work that needed to be done, the healing that needed to be done.
And
So
that purpose you were talking about too.
yeah, and I started to find that as I got into my personal healing. So truthfully, I don't even like I don't even know what to say as my closing statement. I just would say, like, stay curious, stay adaptable, stay open to learn. That's what I've learned throughout my journey, and it'll take you very far. Do not stay in this one box that you feel should be a man, should be a provider, should be your purpose, should be what you do, just because society says so, right? Like, it's so important to find out who you are, because that's when you start becoming the man you need, right? You need to become. And that's with finding who you are, being sure of that, and living in that. When you're sure of who you are, when you're not up to that level, right? I know when I'm not feeling like myself, because there's a certain standard I expect every day when I wake up. And it's okay if I don't wake up at that level that day. I just know it's some work that needs to be done to get myself back to that level. You know what I'm saying? And then as I continue on, that level I may want to step it up a notch, take it up to another level. So I gotta, to Brenton's point, collect some data, put myself around communities, put myself around people, or really just sit and look within and figure out, what is it that I'm missing? What is it that I need to fill the gap between where I'm at and where I'm trying to go, right? But I think the main thing as a man, the most important thing is just to never stop.
Mm-hmm.
Never stop. Like, it's this life, it's a marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you sprinting through this marathon, right? But regardless, don't stop. You could slow down, you could walk, get some water on the way. You know what I'm saying?
Give it something.
Sometimes you're going to have people on the sidelines cheering you on. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's going to be real empty and it's just you running that race, right? But just never stop, because I feel people die a long time before they're actually put in the grave.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think so. And I'm gonna say mine, and then I'll send it to you for your wrap up, and you can wrap us up. But I like how every time I sit down with you fellas, bro, I always learn something else, because it's like us three hearing each other's experiences and where we're learning in today, and it just makes me learn that much faster. I always say that, so I appreciate that. And like, one thing I realize is that we got to be grateful for our journeys that we've been in, even those people that we learn bad things from in our journeys. Well, not necessarily bad things. Like, I'm trying to get away from right or wrong and bad and good, but unhealthy things that we learned, right? We got to be grateful for those things, though, because we survived. We're here. Without those things, we wouldn't be here today. We needed those things at that point, right? But we also got to be mindful of looking in the mirror, like I said earlier, and asking yourself who you want to be today or who you want to be tomorrow, right? And then not only that, just talking to yourself, in a sense. Talk to yourself or look in the mirror. And then with that, be mindful when those things stop working, right? And so that's just really my closing statement. And that's kind of where I'm at now. It's just continually walking in accountability and asking myself, who do I want to be?
Yeah. I thought of a story of a young man that was at one of the ICU Bro events. We were talking, and he said to me, "I want to move out the city. I want to get myself out this area, and do these things." He was like, "But I got to get my mama out too." And I was like, "Oh no." I was like, "Oh no."
You can't bring mama.
and not even that, but like not that you can't bring mama, but it's just kind of like save yourself
Yeah.
first. You cannot save both of you simultaneously. You know,
Oxygen mask thing.
put your oxygen mask on first, black man. You are not responsible for getting your mama out the hood. You responsible for getting yourself out the hood first, and then you better build a guest house in that backyard. You get what I'm saying? Um, you are not responsible for what other standards people put on you and what other narratives and what other stories people assign to you. You are responsible for that. You no longer get to blame anyone. You are accountable to you. You know, and so that's my closing statement is that, you know, there's power in that, right? There's liberation in that, but there's also accountability in that.
Yeah.
Is that you get to write your own story. And so that's what I think is beautiful about being a black man, is because we're powerful enough to like snatch off those chains of what people have placed on us, but we're even more powerful enough to like rewrite a new story. And so that's it. Like, rewrite your story, black man. It's a wonderful new year. Like, do what you gotta do. You get what I'm saying? Put your chin up, chest out. You get what I'm saying? Do all that you gotta do. But, you know, take care of yourself first, and then, you know, make those things secondary.
Yeah.
And so shout out.
Oh, I was real quick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My life got a million times better when I put myself first.
Yeah.
A million times better when I put myself first. And it's not to say I neglect other people. It's to say that I'm putting myself first, because I know that if I serve myself first, it's going to benefit those I love around me immediately. They are going to benefit off of me putting myself first, off of me going and trying to get more money, or me going and healing more, me being in spaces like this. It benefits those around me. So yes, put yourself first. Trust. You will get your mama out the hood. You will live a prosperous life. Your family will be good. Just put yourself first and bring them along with you.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that being said, shout out to episode 1 of the I See You Bro pod, a space, like we said, just dedicated to talking about things that we generally don't get the space to talk about. We love y'all. I am 1/3 of your podcast, Brenten, and we out.
Hey, and it's your boy Mars, #1 Misfit. Make sure you guys follow, like, share, and subscribe. Check us out on Patreon if you want to see it live.
And yeah, this is your boy Eury. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Make sure to comment and share your experience with us, because your voice matters too, and we'd love to hear a little bit more about you. Peace.